All right, hey everyone. Sorry I don't have my Chromebook with me. I'm up at school getting some stuff done. Long week, first week of tennis practice. So I'll try to make this quick. You will probably want the Google Doc pulled up on your screen because you won't be able to see it in this video. All you'll be able to see is just my lovely face, and I'm sorry about that. So we're in Judges this week, and our key verse is really a verse that kind of summarizes this main theme of Judges, where the Israelites sin and God sends a judge to deliver them, and the Israelites repent, and then the judge dies, and then we see this cycle repeated where the Israelites go back to a life of sin, etc. So the key concept: Israelites experienced a cycle of depravity and deliverance throughout the era of the judges. As far as the introductory questions go, the first introductory question is building on something that we talked about in my class last week. You may not have spent much time on that, and that is okay. So if you need to just disregard question one, disregard it. But really trying to look at this concept of relying on God's strength and provision, and how we oftentimes play it pretty safe as Christians, and I'm not so sure that we're always called to play it so safe. So, and even the discussion that we had in class was very evident that we're all playing it pretty safe. The second one is more related to the lesson today, describing a time when you keep making the same mistake over and over again and how that cycle impacted your life. I would say I'm not necessarily going to read through this entire lesson. There's a little bit of content in there from the John Corson commentary, and then really the verses are all based on this idea that I just mentioned, how at the beginning, how the Israelites failed to drive out the inhabitants of the promised land like they were told to, and how God then, they had the consequences of those actions. I would really encourage you to hang out a little bit in Roman numeral 2, where we see this cycle of depravity and deliverance as something that is familiar, relatable, and must be addressed. We see how idolatry ultimately caused the Israelites and causes us to be immoral. So our own idolatry, whatever those idols might be, leads to our own immorality. And so thinking through what idols have we held on to for too long, and what have been specifically consequences of those actions. Additionally, we're really good at not taking responsibility for our own morality. For example, we'll sit back and we'll blame the multi-billion-dollar pornography industry, the multi-billion-dollar social media industry for its impact on our society. But what have we done to actually cut out the impact of social media? What have we done, quite frankly, to fuel the industry like the pornography industry? A lot of the idols, wealth, money, etc. We're doing what the Israelites did in a lot of cases. We're not cutting those idols out. We're actually fueling those things in America, and so we're very guilty of blaming others, blaming the bad guys for these things that are happening. But the reality is those things couldn't exist without Christians sitting in pews in churches, fueling those idols, and then of course experiencing the extreme heartache that comes from the immorality that that idolatry causes. So sorry it's late. Anyway, And then the next question, if we fail to take responsibility for that immorality, how will that impact future generations? Which is scary in and of itself. I mean, a lot of people in my class have younger kids, and so, but whether you have young kids or not, that question should haunt you a little bit. And then last, and I think one that will generate some really good discussion, is where do we see Jesus in this story? And you want to make sure, like if you're not a clock watcher, you want to make sure to save time for this last question of where we see Jesus in the story. So anyway, that's all. I hope this is helpful, and I'm sorry that it's a little later this week than normal.